Imagine being born from a literal corpse, raised by mercenaries, sold to a pedophile, betrayed by your best friend, watching everyone you love get eaten alive, losing an eye and an arm, and still deciding that the world is worth fighting for. This man's life story reads like someone took every possible trauma, put it in a blender, hit maximum chaos, and somehow produced the most inspiring character in anime history. I'm not exaggerating. By the time I'm done telling you about Guts' journey, you'll either need therapy or feel like you can conquer anything. Maybe both. Before we start, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers. Hit subscribe if you're ready for this emotional journey. With that said, let's dive in. So you think your childhood was rough? Guts was literally born from his dead mother's corpse hanging from a tree. I'm talking born into death, surrounded by crows in what can only be described as the world's worst welcome party. But wait, it gets worse. A mercenary named Gambino finds baby Guts and thinks, you know what, I'll adopt this death baby. Except Gambino's idea of parenting was basically, here's a sword, don't die. At age 6, while you were learning to tie your shoes, Guts was learning to tie up enemies. And just when you think it can't get darker, Gambino SELLS young Guts to a soldier for one night. Yeah, we're not going into details, but imagine trying to trust adults after that. Then Gambino starts beating him and calling him cursed. Most people would be in therapy for life. Guts? He killed Gambino in self-defense and walked away thinking, well, that was Tuesday. What's Wednesday gonna bring? This is where we learn something crucial about Guts. He doesn't process trauma like normal people. Where others would break, he just gets more stubborn. It's like the universe said, let's destroy this kid, and Guts replied, challenge accepted. After Gambino's death, teenage Guts becomes this wandering mercenary who makes Wolverine look emotionally stable. He's jumping from army to army, fighting anyone for money, and his philosophy is basically, everyone leaves or dies, so why get attached? Picture this, while other teens are worried about acne and crushes, Guts is out here collecting battle scars like Pokemon cards. His sword keeps getting bigger because apparently his trauma needed a physical manifestation, and that manifestation was compensation sword energy. But here's the thing that makes Guts special. Even during his edgelord phase, he never becomes truly evil. He's like a stray dog that bites when you try to pet it, but deep down still remembers what kindness feels like. Then along comes Griffith, pretty boy with white hair, dreams bigger than his ego, and the audacity to defeat Guts in combat. But instead of killing him, Griffith does something revolutionary. He offers Guts a job. Now, Guts has never had a boss who didn't eventually try to murder him, so this is already suspicious. But Griffith isn't just offering employment, he's offering something Guts has never had, a dream worth fighting for. The Band of the Hawk becomes Guts' first real family. These aren't just co-workers, these are people who watch his back, share meals with him, and don't immediately try to sell him to the highest bidder. For the first time in his life, Guts experiences what normal people call friendship. And then there's Casca, the only woman in the group who can match Guts, swing for swing and attitude for attitude. She sees past his I'm too traumatized for emotions act and thinks, yeah, I can work with this disaster of a human being. This is where Guts starts healing without even realizing it. He's learning to laugh, to care about others, to fight for something bigger than just survival. It's like watching a feral cat slowly realize that maybe humans aren't all terrible. The Guts and Casca relationship is what happens when two emotionally constipated warriors decide to try this thing called feelings. Neither of them has any idea what they're doing, but they're committed to figuring it out together. Their courtship involves more sword fighting than flower giving, and their first real conversation is basically, you're not completely terrible. Thanks. You too. It's like watching two porcupines trying to hug, lots of good intentions, occasional bleeding. But when they finally get together, it's beautiful. Casca sees the gentle soul. Guts has been hiding under layers of trauma and bad attitude. Guts discovers he's capable of tenderness, which is shocking to everyone, including himself. For a brief, shining moment, Guts has everything he never dared dream of. A family, a woman who loves him, a purpose beyond just surviving until tomorrow. Of course, this is Berserk, so happiness is basically a setup for cosmic punishment. Here's where Guts makes the decision that proves good intentions can lead to absolute catastrophe. Griffith mentions that he only respects people with their own dreams, and Guts thinks, you know what? He's right, I should go find myself. So he leaves, just leaves. Defeats Griffith in combat to earn his freedom, and walks away from the only family he's ever known to discover his own path. It's like deciding to burn down your house because you want to redecorate. What Guts doesn't understand, because emotional intelligence isn't his strong suit, is that Griffith needs him, not just as a warrior, but as a friend. Griffith's entire identity is built around being untouchable and superior, but Guts is the one person who can reach him as an equal. Griffith's subsequent mental breakdown is epic in its stupidity. He seduces the princess, gets himself arrested, and spends a year being tortured. all because his best friend decided to go on a spiritual journey at the worst possible time. This is peak Guts. His greatest strength becomes his greatest weakness. A year later, Guts returns, thinking he's going to rescue Griffith and everything will go back to normal. Instead, he walks straight into what can only be described as Hell's annual convention, the Eclipse. Griffith's Behelit activates, summoning these cosmic horror entities called the God Hand, who basically offer him a deal. Want ultimate power? Just sacrifice everyone you've ever cared about. And Griffith, broken and desperate, says, "Where do I sign?" What follows is the most brutal sequence in anime history. Every single member of the Band of the Hawk gets torn apart by demons while he watches helplessly. Guts goes full berserker mode, but it doesn't matter. His sword, his skill, his legendary stubbornness, none of it can stop cosmic forces that treat human lives like snacks. Then comes the final insult. Femto, the demon Griffith has become, violates Casca while forcing Guts to watch. Guts loses his eye and arm trying to save her, but the real damage is to their souls. Casca's mind breaks completely, and she retreats into madness. The Skull Knight rescues them, but rescue is a relative term. They're alive, but branded for death, hunted by demons, and psychologically shattered. For 2 years, Guts abandons Casca and becomes the Black Swordsman. Basically what happens when you take a traumatized super soldier and point him at everything demon-related. He gets a sword so big, it's basically a steel surfboard and a prosthetic arm with a built-in cannon, because subtlety is dead. This is Guts at his darkest, a walking middle finger to the universe. He's hunting apostles, torturing them for information about Griffith, and generally being the thing demons tell scary stories about. But here's what's fascinating. Even at his worst, Guts can't quite become a complete monster. He meets Puck, a tiny elf who decides this traumatized walking disaster needs a friend whether he wants one or not. And slowly, despite himself, Guts starts healing. The beast of darkness living in his mind represents his potential to become truly evil. It whispers, just embrace the hatred, stop caring, let revenge consume you. But every day, Guts chooses to stay human, even when being human hurts more. The turning point comes when Guts realizes his quest for vengeance is destroying any chance of helping Casca heal. So he makes the hardest choice of his life. He chooses love over revenge. This isn't some Disney movie transformation. It's a daily struggle. Every morning, Guts has to choose between hunting down Griffith and protecting the woman he loves. And every morning, he chooses love. He starts traveling with a new group of companions, and we see glimpses of the old Guts returning. He's learning to trust again, to let others help him, to be gentle when gentleness is needed. When he gets the Berserker armor, it becomes a perfect metaphor for his internal struggle, incredible power that threatens to consume him if he can't maintain control. His relationship with Shirky becomes crucial. She helps anchor him when he's lost in rage, reminding him who he is beneath the fury. Here's why Guts matters. He proves that trauma doesn't have to define you. This man has every reason to be a monster. Hell, the universe seems designed to make him one. Instead, he chooses every single day to be better than his worst impulses. He's called the struggler not because he's the strongest or most skilled, but because he never stops trying. In a world that seems determined to break him, he continues to choose humanity over hatred, love over vengeance, hope over despair. His current journey to Elfhelm to heal Casca represents more than just a quest. It's a pilgrimage toward redemption. He's fighting demons, both external and internal, and regardless of how it ends, the fact that he's willing to make that fight tells us everything. Guts teaches us that strength isn't about never falling down, it's about getting back up every single time. That love isn't about avoiding pain, it's about caring despite the risk of loss. That hope isn't about believing things will be easy, it's about believing they can get better. In a medium full of chosen ones and natural heroes, Guts is just a guy who refuses to quit. And somehow, that makes him more heroic than all of them combined. If this journey through hell and back inspired you even half as much as it inspired me, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me which part of Guts' story hit you hardest, and subscribe for more deep dives that prove anime isn't just entertainment, it's philosophy with better fight scenes. The struggle continues, and so do we.